Hello and welcome to the Dim and Wit Oddcast, coming to you from the Bayou City of Houston, Texas. I'm Brian. That's my brother from another mother, Dave, and that's my other brother from yet another mother, Dave. Let's talk about some of the locations that you guys have visited as Dim and Wit.
Howdy. Episode 2. So we've made it all the way to 2 episodes. So great job, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about locations, right? So we've been to a lot of different places. We try and do one big trip a year. So we'll hit all of the Ren fairs and a bunch of the cons and stuff in the area, and then we'll try and do one big trip. So I think our first big trip was Kentucky, right? Kentucky Ren Fest.
Was it Kentucky or was it Arizona?
No, I think it was Kentucky was first because we got invited to go there.
Yeah, it was the first time anybody had wanted to see us.
Right. That the local ferry group out there had somehow found us and invited us out there. So,
What are your memories of that?
so the three kind of things that stand out from that trip. One was going early and going to visit the Maker's Mark distillery.
That was an absolute blast. It's one of my favorite pictures of us, and it's of our backsides.
Right. Or that's
walking towards the
walking down the trail.
Down the trail towards the.
Yeah, that was a great thing. What was fun about that one was you can't go to the Maker's Mark distillery unless you're going to the Maker's Mark
going
distillery.
there accidentally.
Yeah, because it was 35 miles from anything. So that's my first memory of that weekend was going there. The second one was, I think it was that night when all the folks that worked at the fair, all the ferry groups and stuff, they met us at the Cracker Barrel next to the hotel. And so getting to meet, and there was 20 people that came out to hang out with us. So that was a lot of fun, and it was, getting to know people, and it was Fairies, it was Fairies' parents, it was, just all kinds of folks, and that really kind of prepped us for
Being at the fair.
Fair, right? Because they told us to come
I
early.
remember running into Circa Paleo, a couple of the members of that group that were working the fair. They weren't actually playing music, which is now, who is Josh with now?
Josh is with. Shoot! Yeah, now I don't. I'm sure it'll pop into my head here in a few minutes, and
it's the three guys.
I'll shout it out. Yeah, kind of the
they're on
heavy
the same
metal
table
Renaissance.
with Tartanic.
Yeah,
but
the same stage at TRF. So we'll remember that here in a minute. Yeah, but we ran into it was Jay and Josh were the ones
before Jay passed away.
Yeah. The other thing I remember is the fact that it was freaking hot.
That was my favorite memory of that entire trip, was how hot it was.
It's 112 degrees on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And
I remember us going to the prep for that show, and they basically, before most of the Renaissance Festival, they have everybody get together and kind of talk over, talking points for the show. And they basically were like, it's going to be hot. And they were walking around with ladles of water, or buckets of water with ladles in them, just pouring it over people. And it wasn't lasting. Yeah. There was like no breeze. It was.
Yeah, that was the lady that had the fans that she was selling, and she was just basically giving them out to people to fan themselves. And
it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite trips.
One of our favorite acts was out there, Iris and Rose.
Yeah,
and they came out in their shifts, and that was it.
Yeah,
their white shifts. That was as much clothes as they were willing to put on.
Yep.
And leave their air conditioning to come out, do the show, go back in there.
Yeah, I felt sorry for them, but
I felt sorry for everybody. Everybody was.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
It was a good time. We had a great time. You got me into that stupid barrel swing.
That was so much fun.
Thing. No,
I get you into a lot of dumb stuff.
you do get me in a lot of dumb stuff.
You got me into this, so it's only
That's
fair
very
that
true. That's very true. But I didn't start it with I have an idea, so I think I'm off the
that's
hook
my
there.
trademark.
But
So.
yeah, so Arizona, that was a lot of fun. That was the first time we got to hang out with the participants, right? With the staff there, right? We got to sit in on their morning meeting.
No. That's Kentucky. You just said Arizona.
Oh, sorry.
Arizona is the next trip.
Yeah, we'll talk about Arizona. Sorry. So Kentucky, yeah. So we got to sit in their morning meeting. They invited us out to the campground for staff afterwards. So we went home or went back to the hotel, showered, cooled off, changed into shorts and T-shirts, and then went back out there. And
It was a good time.
Yep. Had a great time. Everybody was super, super welcoming. Made a lot of friends out there. So yeah, that was, I think that one kind of, for me, kind of set the stage for all the other Ren Fair trips that we've done. Just kind of let us know that
it was going to be okay.
Yeah, it was going to be okay. Everywhere we went, people were going to like us, people were going to accept us. And, we were welcomed there.
Yeah. So Arizona,
there
is no water in the air. If you're from Houston, you understand this. If you're from anywhere else, you won't understand. There's water in the air.
Yeah.
When you walk outside here at home, there is literally water just floating in the air. And you're hydrated all the time because it's just, there's water everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. Arizona, no water in the air.
Yep.
Basically, the doors opened on the airplane, and I remember that's probably the last thing I remember because all the water left my body, went out the door, and disappeared into the ether.
Yep. And I just remember we went, was it an IHOP that was next to the hotel that we ended up eating at several times?
Was it an IHOP?
And
I thought it was something else, but that.
I'm pretty sure it was an IHOP. It wasn't a Denny's.
But yeah, so
every time we walked in there, we had them bring us
so much gourmet food.
Yeah,
yeah. So basically, we drank bottles of water and glasses of water just on repeat, trying to stay hydrated, and it wasn't working. I remember going to the cactuses and driving around and seeing it was just kind of odd seeing mountains in the background of everything. Like every picture we took, there were just mountains, and that was unusual because we come.
Yeah, well,
from here where it's flat.
Yeah, we did our, went a couple of days early and took some time to do some sightseeing around there. And you're right. I mean, the country's just beautiful, and it's so different from here in Houston, right?
Yeah. It was very different because every time you got in the shade, it was cold.
Right.
And every time you stepped out of the shade, you died.
Right. And that was February? Time frame. So it was, you would expect it to be chilly, but it was actually, really, really warm during the day in the sun.
Yeah.
So that worked out, well. We went out to the lake whose name escapes me. We went to visit that old Western ghost town and met the blacksmith guy. And had the Dim and Wit logo made into a brand iron that we still have.
Do you have that?
I have that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yep. No, it's right now it's hanging up in the shop.
Okay.
But yeah, I've got that. And
anybody ever breaks into your shop, they're going to get branded.
Yep. Exactly.
Got it.
I got to say, wait. Hang out while I heat it up. But let's see.
It was a good trip. We had a lot of people launch themselves at us at that Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, they definitely seemed to be hug deprived.
Yeah.
In that area, because we had a lot of people that once they figured out that we gave hugs were enthusiastic.
Yes,
about
that's a good word.
Hugs.
That's actually something I'd like you guys to delve a little deeper in. In the first episode, you said the hug thing. So for people who haven't experienced it, could you?
So the first day, we weren't even Dim and Wit yet. We were just the Fairies. And we realized that everybody who wanted pictures with us also wanted hugs. And we realized that it's something that it's a give and a take at the same time, right? So you can't give a hug without getting a hug, or it's very, very difficult and awkward when you try to do that. And so we decided that that's something we wanted to indulge in, right? So we wanted to make hugging part of who we were or who we are as Dim and Wit, right? So the first T-shirts we had made said hugs heal on them, and we just made that very much part of our thing, part of our identity.
Yep. And then I had a free hugs sign that.
Yep.
We've
several iterations of free hugs. My favorite one was the one that you flipped it over on the back and it said, or $5 for uncomfortable hugs for your friends. Mm. That's still my favorite one that you had. But yeah, Arizona, I mean, he said people launched themselves at us, but in some cases it was actually true, right? I remember hearing these running steps, and the grounds there are all like this decomposed granite, right? So it's this red gravel stuff. And I hear these footsteps running towards us, and I turn around just in time for this kid. I say kid, he was probably 20. Go to skid to a stop right in front of me, and his feet stopped before he expected them to. And so he kind of launched in the air for like the last 8 or 9 feet. And I luckily he was small, so I was able to catch him and spin him around for hugs. And he was super excited about that. But we had lots of people that were, like I said, they were coming for a hug before we had a chance to offer them, right? So luckily that was okay with us. But that was something we commented on pretty quickly, was that people just found out that we were okay with hugs and enthusiastic about hugs, and they were enthusiastic back, right?
I think we were at one of the other professional, air quotes, fairies there. Was it Oakley? Or was it Twigs? Twigs?
Yeah, she was there. We had a very brief interaction with her. She was like on her way to the parade or something. I don't remember.
I mean, it was, but it was very cute.
Yeah, very, very cute, very nice. We met the two Russians that described us as Russian pixies.
Yeah. We also Tortuga twins. That was one of the first times I met them. Yeah, I believe.
I feel like we had met them at Louisiana the year before,
but not as Dim and have we had?
As Dim and Wit.
Okay,
because one of the reasons we chose Arizona was
to see them.
It
must have been Louisiana.
So that was one of the decision makers, was to get a chance. We knew them. We knew we'd have a good interaction with them. Again, it was one of those, Ricky, Ron, all you guys, you're our whoopee sometimes. So just accept that fact.
Our comfort.
You're our
comfort rennies.
Yeah, our comfort rennies.
Okay, so let's talk about Louisiana.
Oh yeah, Louisiana. So, I mean,
Hammond, Louisiana,
Louisiana Renaissance Festival.
What is it, about an hour from
New
Orleans?
Baton Rouge, and about an hour from New Orleans, right? It's on Highway 12, Interstate
right
12, kind of right due north of New Orleans and pretty much due east of Baton Rouge. I've been going there. I think 2003 was our first time. I'm getting head nods. So yeah, 2003 was our first time. And then 2010, we had done Texas Renaissance Festival, and then you couldn't go to Louisiana with us. So I went just as the fairy, and I got good interactions, but people weren't quite sure what to do. That was the first hint that I had that And Wit is not nearly as entertaining as Dim and Wit, because the next year, 2011,
we went,
and they just welcomed us with open arms. I mean, we met the owners, we met a lot of the patrons, we met a lot of the
owners
folks
of that. They are amazing.
Yeah, Yeah, they've treated us very, very well over the years. And so, it's good for us to
And that's
talk to
another
them a
one where
little bit.
we've sat in on their morning meeting and
Yep.
gone through everybody showing up with their coffee and like bundled up from either the weather.
Yeah, because usually it's kind of chilly.
It depends.
We almost always go the last weekend of fair, which is usually the first or second weekend of December.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody wants to join us there, we'll be
First to last weekend of December.
Yep.
So yeah, no, there have been times that we've shown up and we have not wanted to put on a thing because it was warm enough that just didn't want to wear anything. And then we've shown up at times where we wanted to wear every single item of clothing that we own.
Yeah, we've had some cold days and some very hot days.
Yeah.
So typical Gulf Coast kind of weather. You never know. Wait a minute, it'll change.
Yeah. So after Arizona,
I think there's an interesting segue in there for just tell people about your luggage going from one fair to another.
So I know for Wit, right? I've usually got a very small suitcase for Dave. And then I've usually got either a single ginormous coffin-sized suitcase for Wit, or I've got multiple bags for Wit. So I usually will have a suitcase for socks and tights and t-shirts and things like that. And then I've got another bag for shoes and boots and hair paraphernalia. And then another bag for wings and tutus. Don't say it.
4 fours.
I told you not to say it. So generally for me, it's at least 2 bags, usually more like 5 of various bits and pieces.
So mine has changed over the years. So basically it used to be when we first started, it was one bag that was everything for Dim. It was everything I owned so that when I got there, I could decide what the hell I wanted to wear. I never made that choice beforehand until recently. After one location where my bags got stolen, that was a really rough time.
Yep.
Ever since then, because I lost my boots and I lost everything. Ever since then, I have set all my stuff out the nights before and then only taken exactly. So I have half of a suitcase that's Dim and half of it that's me. Usually my Marvel suitcase that basically handles both. So I pack a lot lighter now, even though I still sometimes will have 2 suitcases by the end of the trip. So
yeah, just depending on where we're going. Some of it depends on
how long we're going and what.
If we're driving or if we're flying, at least me, I'll try and consolidate down to a single bag or a bag and a half if we're flying, because we've figured out how to arrange the wings inside of one of the bags.
Usually the wings, it's the problem.
Yeah.
But now we've got that under control.
Yeah, so we got that figured out. And the new wings that Angela makes us, I think, are a little more conducive to traveling like that.
Absolutely.
So
they're much tougher.
But it's we do try and make choices, and we sometimes coordinate. So like he'll say, hey, I'm going to wear the green shirt with the Marvel characters on it and the orange shirt with the blue sleeves. And then I can go, okay, well, and I'll wear different colors than that so that we don't look too twinsies. I mean, that's really not an issue for us. But
I don't think we've ever like blatantly been like one color, like all green. So
no.
I think we've done pretty well.
Yeah, we've done pretty good about not clashing too bad. But it was weird the first couple of years. So like one of the things that we stumbled into as part of it is the socks, right? And so we have a huge collection of socks. And the way we did it is we'd find fun socks, and then I would get one sock and Dim would get the other sock. And I mean, the first couple of years, it happened more often than not that we would show up and one of us or both of us were wearing the same sock.
One sock.
We'd have a pair of socks between the two of us.
Somehow.
And it never coordinated it. It just
happened.
Just happened. And, over time.
Then after my suitcase was gone, I had to buy all new socks.
Which means that my socks doubled the number of socks that I had. Over time, I've got slightly taller boots, so the socks aren't as important because you can't see them. I've gotten slightly longer tutus. Don't say it. And so again, the tights sometimes are not as seen, so I'll wear shorter socks so that you can see the tights a little bit better. That kind of thing.
Hey, did you notice that I looked at the camera and made a 4-4?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't want you to miss.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I was going to leave it laying there, but
I didn't want you to miss.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have something for you. It's out in the car.
Okay. Crowbar.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, as far as luggage goes, that's we take a lot of it. And we've talked about, especially for long drives like Dragon Con, where we have to think about the fact that we've got 2 guys, 2 handlers, and 2 fairies that we have to pack for.
And usually that car is full.
And yeah, so there's we've squeezed 6 people into that car. Going to Dragon Con, right? The one year that my parents went with us. But 4 people plus 2 fairies is probably enough, more than enough.
So Colorado.
20.
Everything is
16?
uphill.
Yeah, Colorado.
Everything is uphill.
So Colorado was a fun trip because we did 2 things while we were there, right? We did the Colorado Ren Fair.
Yep, they were back-to-back weekends.
One weekend, and then we did the Denver Comic Con the next weekend. And so we had to pack for not just a single event, but 2 events that were 2 completely different types of events, right? So we had a Renaissance Festival and a sci-fi convention, which meant
our outfits don't change much, but it is.
I mean, there's some subtle things like different pens.
But that means that's 4 days of Dim and Wit.
Right.
Instead of 2.
And we don't like to repeat ourselves that close together, which meant that at least 4 completely different outfits. I think we both packed 5 outfits at least. Just in case we had to change partway through one day for
tight blowout.
Yeah, tight blowout or sweat or whatever.
When the tights aren't tight anymore.
Yeah.
So
or they get a hole in them.
Absolutely.
Strategically.
So yeah, no, I mean, that was a fun trip. I had to sit still. I did not like that.
We discovered of the 4 of us that went, which of us are self-entertaining and which of us need to be entertained. And because that week between the 2 events, we found a cabin
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, like an hour west of Colorado Springs.
So we were like 30 minutes from the fair if you flew over the mountain.
Yeah, if you flew over the mountain, it
2
was
hours away if you took the freeway or any road to get there.
Yes,
including ones that you had to go straight up into the air.
Yeah, you had to go either south to Colorado Springs and then back up to Castle Rock, or you had to go north to Denver and back south to Castle Rock. We did find a goat path, it seemed like, that kind of went over, but
you only were willing to drive that one time.
I was
and
only
you
willing
didn't
to
want to go back down to let me film you drive over it again.
Yeah, it was
scary.
It was scary. Yeah, we were in a 15-passenger van, right? Because we needed to be able to get all of us there and everything there, and so we rented a big van. We took the last row of seats out, so we had plenty of luggage room. My parents had met us there, and so they were going with us. So we had 6 of us in the van, and we're following the Google route, and apparently it assumed we were driving a 4-wheel drive vehicle because we got to the bottom of this path and it was a dirt road that just looked like it went straight up. And, you know,
it was going to be like a 2.5 hour turnaround.
Yeah.
And go all the way back and back around.
And, you know, we're sitting at the bottom of this thing and there's a little sign that says 4-wheel drive recommended. And then we see a Subaru Outback come down it, not 4-wheel drive. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe this won't be so bad. And so we start up it and I'm white knuckling it. We're at about a 16% grade, but it felt like a 40% grade.
And I'm like,
I mean, we're
not knowing what that meant. I'm like, what, the 15%? That's nothing.
We're tilted far enough that the things we had on the dashboard fell to the back of the van. And, you know, everybody's kind of pressed in their seats. That's this dirt road and it's just complete washboard. Right. So I'm driving up it and the back end is vibrating so bad from the washboard that it's fishtailing. We had a solid wall on one side
and nothing,
and empty air on the other side for hundreds of feet.
And there's cars passing us going the opposite direction.
We finally get to the top and we're like, okay, well, it's downhill from here, literally. And that didn't make it better. And eventually we get to the turn back onto the paved road and we all kind of took a deep breath and looked around at each other. And that's when he goes, oh man, we should have filmed that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back. So I
thought it was a good idea.
We chose to go the long route for the next couple of days.
Yeah, we did. We never went that route again.
No,
that was a one-time thing.
I would be interested in doing it in a regular vehicle, but that van was interesting, to say the least. But we got to fair, and like Dave said, the fair is on the side of a mountain, so you spend the first half of the day walking up the mountain, and then the second half of the day coming back down again. And it's a great fair. It's one of the few fairs that I've seen.
It's a lot of fun.
That has shuttle buses that run through the parking lot to pick you up and take you back to the parking area. Right, you can walk, but it's a fairly substantial walk, and so by the end of the day, you're walked out.
You're done.
There's no oxygen there.
That's also
so. Arizona had no humidity. Colorado has no oxygen. So
we've hit the extremes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like world extremes. There's nothing. Oh, and Kentucky was the top of the sun.
Yeah, top of the sun.
So we have hit all the extremes of doing Dim and Wit. So Seattle was a convention.
Yeah, Seattle was a convention. That was Emerald City Comic Con. That was just a couple of years ago.
Oh, and I forgot one, but go ahead.
Seattle was interesting. Obviously, we flew in there, right? And we've got some friends and some, I guess now, basically family that live in that area. And so they met us down there. Your daughter came down to meet us there.
She had moved to Portland.
Yeah, the one that moved as far from Texas as you could get. By moving to Portland.
So that's because her mom was married to me and decided to move as far away as possible.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You brought that up. I didn't bring that up.
Oh, I know.
But that was a very good con. My issue with that con had nothing to do with the con. It's the fact that I was starting on my journey with sciatica. And so my butt cheek hurt the entire trip. I mean, from the first morning we woke up in the hotel until we got home again, I felt like I had an ice pick shoved in my butt crack and my butt cheek. And so I was trying very hard.
What was that?
Sciatica?
What part of your body?
My butt cheek.
You have
specifically one? My right one. Yes, it exists. It's difficult to see.
Once again, I'm picking on my brother because
I have, the same affliction that my dad has. It's called no acetol. Or slope butt, if you want to be crude about it.
I'm never crude.
Right. Right. So I just remember a lot about that. I spent a lot of time trying not to be grumpy.
Yeah.
And be pleasant and
there were
happy.
several times you were just like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm headed back to the hotel now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you don't have to go, but I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was just.
And we took a lot of time off from that trip, which we've learned is okay.
Right.
We used to.
It used to be from the time the doors open till they shoved us
Comic
out.
Palooza. We are like that. We
Right.
are there from the point that like 30 minutes to 45 minutes before they open until after karaoke.
Right.
We are there the entire time. And some days that is by the time Monday comes around, we're because you have to do what we're doing, which I guess you don't have to, but to do what we do, you have to be at like 110%. You have to really pump yourself full of adrenaline, and you have to really keep your A game on and just try to be happy the whole time, which is probably the main reason why as soon as we were walking out the door, I'm wearing a black t-shirt and I am wearing like jeans, black t-shirt, and then either some kind of hat to cover the hat head that I've already gotten from the entire weekend. And I just want to find a dark room somewhere that I can be quiet. But that's just a me thing.
But yeah, I mean, this first several years, everything we did, we felt like we had to be there from the time that the doors opened till the last person, left.
Well, we said, and one of the rules that we came up with when we first started doing this, like from day probably 3 or 4, was we're doing this for fun. And we'll do this as long as it's fun. As soon as it's not fun, we're not doing it.
Right.
We're going to stop. If it becomes a job, then
right. And the first couple of years,
we were doing
everything.
14, 15 events, and we were going all the time.
Yeah, it seemed like every other weekend we were going somewhere.
We were tired by the end of the year. And then the next year, we're like, okay, let's plan out the year. Boom, 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 boom. Once again, doing the same exact thing. And we did as much as possible, which I totally get. But now we've also gone, okay, let's do quality over quantity sometimes.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, we discovered that there's some events that we don't enjoy as much and some locations that we don't enjoy as much. And so we don't go there as often as we used to. Right?
I mean, we still go to several even that aren't our favorites. We still go there. And it's nothing to do with the people.
Yeah, people are great everywhere.
It's usually the location, the venue, or
timing.
Yeah, timing's always a rough one.
Right, because it seems like there are some months where there's just every weekend, or
in
some
Texas,
weekends there's more than one thing.
In Texas, some weekends are harder than others. You get into June and July, it's like 110 degrees outside, and nobody wants to be outside.
Yep, and you can only take off so much as a fairy and still not be arrested. So,
well, I mean, if we start doing pride parades, I'll wear appropriate lack of everything. So, but that's just a me thing once again. So,
appropriate to what you think is appropriate, or appropriate to what the constabulary feels is appropriate.
What I feel is appropriate, which is as little as possible. Thong to thong thong thong. Oh, did we pay for that song?
Just shave. That's all I'm saying. Just shave.
No. I'm going to be like a Sherpa. So, all right.
More like an alpaca.
Alpaca. Well, true. Okay, so Wisconsin. That's the one I forgot. Wisconsin.
Yeah, so Bristol.
Bristol.
Renaissance Festival.
And I'm also like, but we went to a convention. Oh, never mind. That was an us thing. We went to a convention there.
Right. So Bristol Renaissance Festival in Wisconsin.
Which was a blast. That was a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun. Again, we put that one on the list because we knew the Tortuga Twins was going to be there. Mm-hmm. Right. So again, you guys get to be our emotional support Rennies. And we went. We had a great time. The weather was really, really nice. we went a day early, so we got to go visit the Great Lakes, and we got to have some really good food, and as well as, go to the fair. And trying to remember
the Daily Dose. That was one of my favorite places that we went to because of the coffee.
Right.
We went there like multiple times, and it was awesome. And it was it wasn't in Lake Geneva. No, that was our other trip that we went to Wisconsin. No, it was in whatever city was close by Bristol. Yeah. I can't remember the name of the city.
I don't remember. So yeah, and I just remember the spider lady, right? That we had one of the requirements
was to find the
spider lady, the lady that sells the jewelry spiders. And because one of our handlers collects those, and we found out she was going to be, we hadn't seen her in a few years. And so
we normally would see her at Scarby, which we haven't been to in quite some time.
Right. And I think the first time we saw her was in Colorado when it wasn't a Dim and Wit trip. But so we knew she was going to be there, so we went looking for her. And so as we came around the corner, we were like, "Oh, there she is!" And so we came over and says, "We've been looking for you, one of our folks." And she's like, "You people haven't been looking for me." And I'm like, "Oh, yes, we have."
Yep, you were high on the list of things we're looking for.
So yeah, we had a great time.
I think she came home with like 3 or 4.
Yeah, several new ones. That's for sure. 5. I'm getting the 5 number.
Okay.
So
not saying that one of our handlers is here handling us now.
Sitting in the corner knitting.
Yep.
So yeah, we had an opportunity to sit down with a couple of the Tortuga twins outside of their show and get to know them a little bit more.
And now
find out they've all got these little side hustles at the Ren Fair selling different things.
You just went to Sherwood, this past weekend?
Yesterday.
And dropped off a cart that you built.
Yeah, that I built for Ricky.
For one of the Tortuga twins.
Yep.
He sells wands.
Sells magic wands at several of the different fairs.
So if you see a cart at Sherwood that's selling wands.
Yep, it's red and yellow.
That was built by Wit.
That was built. That was a Wit.
That's a Wit original.
So,
do you happen to know the name that he operates under?
I thought it was wands, but
I think it's Mystical Wands, I think is the name of it.
I'll be sure to get that for the show notes for anyone interested.
Yep. And like I said, he's just getting into Kentucky this year. It's one of the first times at that fair. So yeah, that's it's good. Good on him. I've enjoyed working on that, and that has become kind of a thing now. Is getting a chance to deliver that cart, because I keep it during the year between the seasons at my house, and I get to deliver it out there beforehand and then pick it up afterhand. So I get a little more behind the scenes look of.
You get to drive out into the middle of fair.
Yep.
I've gone with you on one of these trips where we get to actually unload it at the festival before it's open. It's fun driving your vehicle. Yeah. I've done that at TRF once because I was with somebody that basically she went out and was working out at the fair. So I had to drive there to load up a bunch of stuff from when they were building a one of the booths.
Right.
And it was fun. It was very interesting to realize that you're driving like 10 miles per hour, but you're driving where normally you would be walking. It's very unusual. Yeah. And nobody's there.
Yeah. So, what was fun yesterday, and I know we're kind of all over the place with these stories, but what was fun yesterday was I get a call from Ricky. We're 30 minutes away or whatever. And he's like, okay, they've ratcheted down on security a little bit. So there's a checkpoint when you first come in. And so I'm going to give you a password to use when you get there, and that'll let them know.
What's that password? Don't say it.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm cagey about that. I'm a cybersecurity guy. I know not to give passwords away. And they're like, get up there, give them the password, and they'll let you through. And I'm like, so the trailer with the bright red and yellow hand cart, hot dog cart on it is not going to be enough. And he's like, nope, they want the password. I'm like, okay. Sure enough, I pull up there and the guy walks over and he's, what is your business here? And what are you doing here? And I'm kind of looking at him like, well, I was told to give you this password. And he's like, oh, yep, that's it. Go on in. Like, yeah, okay. So then when, dropped it off, got it set up, and then we were coming back out again. And I pulled up and the same guy walks out and I rolled the window down. I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Maybe I left something behind. I don't really understand why I'm feeling that way. And he's like, well, your trailer's empty. I'm like, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. And just drove away. I'm like, you can mess with me. I can mess with you too. Of course, I got the, oh, how I love that man of mine from my wife at the time. At the time, I got, oh, how I love that man of mine from my wife, not from my wife of the time. Just to be clear.
Important distinction.
Important distinction. So we were talking about.
Okay, so we've gone through Bristol,
right?
Which we went back to Wisconsin.
Yeah, we went back to Wisconsin last year for GaryCon,
which was a Dave and Suzanne and everybody event, and it was not. And Levi went with us too.
Yeah,
that was my date.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, we had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what GaryCon is it's
nerd.
It is a Dungeons and Dragons convention
in Lake Geneva, where it was created.
Yeah, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It was started by the son of Gary Gygax, right? Gary Gygax is the godfather of Dungeons and Dragons, and so in his hometown, where his house it still is. He's not there anymore, but it's kind of a museum now. Is where they have this convention. Oh, a little bit closer. Okay. So where they have it now, they've had this for several years now, and it's just gotten bigger every year. And basically, it's just a place for
everybody to go and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Role-playing nerds to get together and celebrate.
You bought your most recent table.
Yeah, I brought. So that I was introduced to the it's not the Wandering Dragon, it's the Weathered Dragon company out of I think it's North Carolina.
Yeah, I saw it on Dungeon Craft. I saw their video. The opening part of Dungeon Craft was them talking about the table and seeing everybody. That it was really kind of awesome.
Yeah,
we'll get that on the show notes too.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, it was I have a wormwood table, one of the modular tables that we really enjoy, but because the one we got, it sometimes is cramped at that table, right? So the table that we got from the Weathered Dragon seats the DM and 6 players very comfortably
for Dungeons and Dragons.
For Dungeons and Dragons, for role playing tabletop games.
I also met the Dungeon Dudes. If anybody is on YouTube, met them.
Right.
They're amazing. And got to actually play test one of their newest games there. That was a lot of fun. Levi and I joined the game and was able to play in that world.
Drakenheim. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a great time.
Yeah. So that was, a lot of fun. You get to play, different games with different people.
A lot of just straight up D&D nerddom stuff that was there. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
And then the location was just beautiful, and it was snowing.
Yeah, it's the first couple of days we were there. It snowed,
and then we got the flu.
Some of us got the flu.
You had it first.
No.
You were coughing on the plane, so I just assumed you got it.
No, I think. Okay. In fact, I think you and Suzanne are the ones that got it. I didn't even get sick from that trip. Levi? I
don't think Levi did.
Yeah, but anyway, we have on multiple occasions come down with Con Crud.
Yes, that is a thing.
The lovely gift that keeps on giving.
Yep.
You're a bunch of people in close quarters, not everybody practicing the best hygiene practices. And even post-COVID, when people are a lot more careful about that, you still get that many people crammed in together and something gets passed along.
So Dragon Con.
Dragon Con, Dim and Wit have been, I want to say 5 times now.
Is it 5?
It's at least 5. Because we went 2012, 2013, 2015, 2019, and then this past year, 2024. So yeah, I think that's 5 times. That's a great place. Absolutely love Dragon Con. Yeah, you've got the Marriott carpet shirt on. That's a whole story. You can look up Marriott carpet Dragon Con and read that.
That'll take you a good bit of time.
There's a whole cult that wears clothes and costumes made out
Dragon
of that.
Con? Yeah, there's tons of them.
That's a fun one. You know, it's up to 4.5 days now.
Yeah.
Because it starts stuff on Wednesday night. And
it's like 6 hotels now, or it's like 5 hotels and a
mall.
And a mall.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
like
just
the mall
huge.
is massive. It's so many vendors there. Unless you go multiple days, you're not going to see it.
And it's, getting into the vendors area is
Just
anything
takes a
from an hour wait in line to 6 hours waiting in line, depending on how much time you have and how many people are trying to get in. And that's every day.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the con, like I said, is spread out over different hotels in the area, depending on what nerddom you want to participate in, right? So if you're into cosplay and costuming, there's a whole track for that. You can spend the whole weekend doing nothing but interacting with people and going to basically classes taught by the Alabama Shakespeare Theater costuming group to the local acting and seamstresses and Victorian
zombie apocalypse.
I spent one of the trips we went, I spent the whole time in post-apocalyptic tracks, right? So it was everything from Mad Max to, World War Z, and just, 4 days of constant hanging out with people that enjoy that kind of stuff. If you like Star Wars, if you like Star Trek, if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if you like, any fandom, nerddom that's out there, there's another group. There is a group of people that do filk, which if you don't know what filk is fantasy folk music. And there are people that sit around and play guitars and sing fantasy folk music. It is fantastic.
I didn't even know about that one.
But
that's a good one. That is.
We always enjoy that one. There's a metric butt ton of people there, 50, 60,000 people over the course of the weekend, right in the middle of Atlanta. I don't know if we said it was in Atlanta. It's in Atlanta.
Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, Labor Day weekend. It's just.
Am I missing any of the ones that are outside of the state of Texas? I don't think so. I think we've covered most of the ones outside of Texas.
Yeah.
So let's move to Texas.
So,
actually, I think you should put a pin in that as a starting point for a future episode.
Okay. Yep. So next time we'll talk about all the places that we've gone in Texas.
Now, we've managed to make it through most of the episode without a name drop. Do you have any short celebrity stories?
Well,
because that's one
okay.
of the...
So basically Dragon Con.
Yeah, let's do Dragon Con.
Let's do Dragon Con. We went to go see one person the first time we went.
That was our we win, right? If we can meet them, we've won the weekend, right? We can call it a win, and that was Jewel State, right? She was from Firefly, Stargate Atlantis. I mean, just all kinds of things, right? And so she was our we win moment.
And we were going to go to the photo op, but we did not realize how long it takes us to move from hotel to hotel. So we were in the wrong hotel.
We were 2 hotels away and didn't realize how long it was going to take Dim and Wit to move through those crowds, stopping to take pictures, stopping to get hugs. And we were trying to keep moving.
And this is before we knew the trick to keep moving.
Right.
But it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And we were upset. I was upset.
Yeah. We were upset. We finally got to the hotel and where the photo ops were, and we totally missed the photo op. And so we're standing kind of off to the side, trying to figure out what our next move is. And
people are coming in and getting photos.
People are coming in, and we realize there's a line of people that are standing there that come in and want photos with us, right?
So we're just getting photos.
Suzanne, one of our handlers, is being our photographer for us, right? So she's taking everybody that came in with pictures. She was taking pictures for our collection, right? And these 2 young ladies step in to get pictures.
Ask us if we can have a photo. We say, absolutely. You can get in, take a photo with them.
They go to leave, and the one that's between us turns around to shake my hand and say thanks, and it's Jewel State. Fantastic. And she starts to walk away, and I
have no clue.
I'm like, did you see who that was? I look at Suzanne. She's got her camera in her hand. I'm like, did you see it? She's going, did you see who that was? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I missed the picture. She was changing batteries on the camera and missed the picture. So I told
I have no
Dim
clue.
that was Jewel State, and we missed the picture, and he took off running after her, right? So I'll let you finish.
So I take off, and there's like they go through a back door. I see them go through it, and I go through the back door, full tilt. And a guy's looking at me like, I'm going to murder you. Like straight up looking at me like I'm dead. And they're standing over by an elevator. I'm like, Miss State, I'm sorry. We missed the photo. Is there any way we can get a photo with you? And she's like, yeah. And she comes back out and takes a photo with us.
Yep. And so that was, I mean, as far as I was concerned, we were done for the weekend. I mean,
we'd actually finished our goal. We had done well.
Yep.
And then we came back to Houston, and this was later on.
Yeah, it was
about a year later.
About a year later. And Jewel State comes to Space City Con.
And that's a whole story unto itself.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Klingons later. That'll be another episode.
Nice teaser.
Yeah. So Jewel State was there, and so we brought a printout of the photo that we had taken.
Yep.
And behind her, well, it was in several places in that room were signs, no photographs in this room.
Absolutely no photos, all over the place.
And so we come up, and she looks up, and her eyes just brighten up, and she's like, oh, I've got to get another picture with you. And so she signs the photo for us. She gets up, comes around behind the table, or comes out from behind the table, and we did the, hey, can we get a picture at the same time? So, we took pictures of that. And
she's like, absolutely. And she posted on Instagram. The friend that was with her were like, didn't we get a photo with them and she named some place. And she's like, no, it was Atlanta. And we got a photo with them at Atlanta, like at Dragon Con. And she was like, oh, like, it's like they're having a conversation about us. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool. I screenshotted that conversation.
Right.
And I still have that somewhere. It's on Dim and Wit somewhere in one of the photo albums.
Right.
Then we went to Dallas, and there was a cast photo with all but I think 2 people.
Yeah. So
no, we're not cutting it up yet. You asked for this story, and it's going to last for 45 more minutes.
So yeah. So Dallas, right? And it was the Firefly cast.
So it was everybody except for Alan Tudyk and Marina Baraka.
Yes, I think
and
that's
so
correct.
It was everybody else. And so we're there, and she's super excited to see us. And then we get a photo with them.
Yeah, we did a photo with the whole cast, and just, I mean, it was a great time. And then later we had done a photo up with another celebrity, and as we're walking through the little habit trail to get back to pick up the photos, you know, the bells on our shoes are jingling, and we hear this voice come from over one of the curtains going, "The bells! Can you hear the bells? The fairies are here!"
And so, yeah, and then last part of the story, you saw her somewhere else.
Yeah. I was in Europe for work and went into London for the weekend, and it just so happened that the London Film and Comic Festival was going on. And so I unpacked a Wit shirt, and I went to the festival, or went to the con, and Jewel State was there. And so I had the opportunity to get another autograph from her, but it was kind of funny because, you know, they write a lot of autographs during the day, right? And this was like 4:30 in the afternoon, right? So she'd been there all day. And, you know, I picked the photo, and I talked to the handler, and I kind of slide one of our Dim and Wit business cards across the table and says, you know, can you make this out to Dim and Wit, which is what we normally do. And she's very good about focusing on the person that's in front of her at her table, right?
So she's wearing a Wit shirt.
And I'm just wearing a Wit shirt. So, you know, I wasn't standing out or anything. So she focuses on the person that was in line in front of me. And then the photo for her autograph gets slid over with the business card and the little Post-it note that says, "Make it out to Dim and Wit." And she picks it up and she looks at it, and then she looks up at me, and she looks down at the card, she looks back up at me, and she's like, "What are you doing here?"
Because we had seen her in Atlanta, Georgia, Houston,
Dallas.
Yeah.
So it's
like, we're not stalking you, I promise.
Yeah. Just happy happenstance. So, okay. So I think we need to start wrapping it up. We're getting the wrap it up signal from our producer. So again, once we get this edited, we'll get this posted and published, and we'll let everybody know where these are. If you've got any questions, you can send an email to dimandwit@ymail.com. You can also find us at Dim and Wit on Instagram, and obviously Dim and Wit, the Fairy Brothers, on Facebook. And I think that's pretty much all of our...
Like and subscribe. They say that all the time in all the other things, so that we have to say it too.
So,
and as we wrap up the show, I'd like to take the opportunity to give you guys a chance to repeat your credo.
Yep. If you can't find someone kind,
be someone kind.
That's right. Hugs heal.
All right. Dim and Wit aren't something to keep to yourselves. Share this episode with the world and tag us on the socials when you do.
That's it. It's great meeting, great talking to everybody, and we'll be back for episode 3.